Hello, welcome to Ring Talk, Series 2, Episode 7, Take 2. Martin's not here, a few technical issues, recorded the wrong screens. How are you, Steve?
I'm good, matey. How are we doing?
Not too bad. So no Martin Theobald this week. He's doing a head-to-head tonight for Lewis Cerreta versus Adrian Martin for the Southern area. So you brought me in as a Latvian late substitute.
Well, I'm looking forward to watching their head-to-head because there's been a lot of they respect each other, but both of them are getting fired up now. So I'll be interested to watch their head-to-head in the last week. So it'd be good.
It's a really good fight. We'll come on to talk about it in a minute. Well, we haven't got a lot of time. We're condensing it a bit, so we'll sort of just brief over the weekend. Obviously, there was a few shows. The Frank Warren show was a prospect show. Obviously, that went ahead. Obviously, no one real to know. Some good talented boys on there, but no fights as such to sort of mention. Obviously, the Matchroom card. In Barcelona, again, sort of standard as what you'd expect for it. But we would be doing a disservice not to mention the Triller fight card.
Before we do that, praise for the top of the bill on the Hennessy show, the Sam Eggington fight. It was an amazing fight. It was an amazing fight to watch. Sam Eggington won that fight. Only thing I would say is that kid's having so many hard fights. It worries me about what happens to him when he finishes boxing. Because
so it was a majority decision, Steve. Did you agree? I didn't see the fight, but did you agree with it? Obviously, the foreign judge give it to the away kid. Obviously, the two English judges give it to the home. I'm not saying there's anything in that, but did you agree with the?
I think Sam Eggington nicked it, but he didn't win it by the decisions that. The big decisions that were on the card, but he did.
Yeah, it was quite wide, wasn't it? It was 112, 116 to the foreign lad. It was obviously 117, 112, 117, 111 to Eggington. So obviously between the three judges, if you take the low end of the one for Eggington and the high end for the other one, it's quite a big difference, isn't it?
Yeah. So no, it was a matter of opinions. It was fought in the phone box, but. Listen, I wouldn't have argued if they'd given it to the foreign guy. But I want to give, while we're talking about the weekend before we talk about our show, I want to give a special thing to a boxer called Craig Derbyshire. Now, we've had Craig fight on our shows. He's 7-28 before this weekend, and he went in to fight Joe Mafosa, 10-0, big prospect for the English title and beat him. Yeah. And it shows you, for all you journeymen out there that think there's no way out, that there is a way of actually turning it around. I mean, we've got Dalton Miller. We used to have Danny Cousins. I know Robbie Chapman wants to turn it around. Jamonica Miro, which we'll come on to in a minute.
Lawrence Bennett. Obviously, we had Lawrence Bennett back in the day.
Journeymen can turn it around if they want to change the script. Because a lot of these journeymen are so much more talented than their record suggests. It's just how the business is. So I want to just praise Craig Derbyshire.
That was second time winning for Craig Derbyshire English as well, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he's a really, really good fighter. He beat Nathan Reeve, a 12-2 kid. He lost it to Marcel Braithwaite and then beat Joe Mafosa. I mean, my God, he's now won in his last 4 fights. He's fought once for the Central area and 3 for the English title. Yeah. My God.
Good fight. Yeah, amazing. Good performance from him. Good. So good mention as well.
I wanted just to say that we can't let it pass. He's talking about the big fighters without dealing with somebody like Craig Derbyshire, who deserves everything there.
Well, you gave a special mention and special praise for Craig Derbyshire there, but would you pass the same praise and admiration to Evander Holyfield, boxing legend, for what he participated in at the weekend?
Absolutely not. I mean, that is a disgrace to the sport. Everybody that participated in those major fights. I mean, you had a sparring session with David Hay and Joe Fournier. It was just 2 friends looking to maximise money. But then if people want to pay for it, it's up to them. Evander Holyfield you could see when he was warming up, at his age, he'd gone. He was shot to bits. He was shot 15 years ago. But listen, you're putting on these things and you can't blame the people for milking the money. You've got to turn around to the people that pay for this and ask them, why on earth are you paying for it? Because if you don't pay for it, you don't get it. If people, people are going to want to pay for it, God knows why. I would never have paid for it. I did watch some of it the next morning, but it was free on YouTube. But yeah, it was just nonsense.
I mean, the Hay Fournier will have a little bit more crocks with because they're men of sort of the fighting age. Obviously, Hay only retired a year or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Fournier is obviously still sort of fighting, but yeah, they're friends and that, and you kind of knew no one was going to get hurt. But you know, to see Holyfield, 57 years old, I think he is. You know, go through that.
Nearly 59. No, yeah, the Hay thing was just a sparring session. Anybody knew that you're just going to have the atmosphere. David Hayes walking in, music, the sparring session, and that's okay.
And the weirdest thing that we haven't mentioned is Donald Trump on commentary.
I know, and all he wanted to do was slate off Joe Biden. He was going on about Joe Biden and he said he wanted to fight Joe Biden in the ring.
It's nuts. If you was down the pub and you said Evander Holyfield's fighting against a former MMA fighter, Joe Fournier is going to be fighting David Hay on the undercard, and Donald Trump is going to be thinking, you'd be like, mate, you need to go home because you've had enough to drink. It really happened. You know what I mean? It really happened. But I think the less said about it, the better. Let's go on to the good stuff. Obviously, our first show back in 15 months. As people know, the 14th of March 2020, we had our last show. And then obviously, fast forward, 18 months, 11th of September 2021, we get our first show back. Great little card. It wasn't the cards, but a few debutants out. Camiro and Allington. So let's start with that. Let's start with the top of the bill. Giovanni Camiro versus Billy Allington. Obviously didn't go the way. Sustained a nasty cut. Billy in the second round for what was deemed as an accidental clash of heads. It was stopped in the 27th seconds in round number 5. Now, obviously, it then goes to judges' scorecards because over 4 rounds have been completed. What was your view of the fight, Steve?
Martin Bowers in the Billy Allington corner done it was so smart, and he showed his experience of boxing with sort of training boxers at the highest level.
Yeah.
He basically, Allington got cut in the second. He lost the third.
Nasty cut as well.
Nasty cut, but obviously Martin knew all he had to do then was to tell Billy Allington to come out in the 4th like it was the 10th. He came out like a lunatic. Jamani's still boxing as if it's going to be a longer distance fight. And Billy Allington won the 3rd. And it went to the cards. And then he comes out for the 4th. So he won the 4th, came out for the 4th. And they didn't even bother with the cut at the end of the 4th. They just really were happy for him to come out and it to get stopped. They knew exactly what they were doing.
They were ahead probably at that point.
No criticism. Super smart corner work. Comes out, fight gets stopped. Allington gets a win on points. He won 3 rounds to 1 on my book, and it was exactly as the referee scored it. But the corner knew exactly what to do. I was watching it, and I knew what Martin Bowers would be saying. I knew it. And in that 4th round, I knew Jamani had to go for it. And Jamani was outworked in the 4th round. And that was, you knew as soon as they went back to the corners, I said the fight's lost.
Yeah. And
it wasn't going to go another 2 rounds.
So, and for those that don't know, obviously, if 4 rounds aren't completed, it then becomes a draw, isn't it? Because there's only no 4 rounds. So it was important to complete the 4th round. Then it goes to the scorecards and like a count back. So unfortunately, the thing great. We've got to congratulate Billy on the night. He performed well, won the 3 rounds. In terms of Camiro, what happens with Jamani now? What's your plans with him?
Well, the winner has to defend against Conor Vian because that was. And obviously, Billy Allington's cut so bad, I can't see him fighting this year. So you'll have Billy Allington fight Conor Vian next year, unless because he's not going to want to relinquish it. He's going to want to carry on and defend it, but he won't be able to defend it until next year. So he'll have to fight Conor Vian next year. Yeah. And it does mean that super lightweight Southern Area title is going to be frozen up for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, so unfortunate for Giovanni. So obviously Giovanni moves on to something else. So on the undercard as well, Shockey Khan in his 2nd pro fight against Jordan Granham. Good performance for Shockey.
Just a solid performance, really, and he's just outboxed Jordan. Shockey hadn't had the ideal preparation for the fight. He had his training camp had been disrupted, various different things. Nobody performed well, and got the points win over Jordan. And he couldn't do any more than he did, and he just literally got through it, outboxed him and won on points. So fair dues to Shockey. A good performance considering it's his only 2nd professional fight.
Similar others on the undercard. We'll talk about Amarkiani next because that's the one that had the most drama with it. And I don't know if you want to give some background in the lead up to what happened. Obviously, opponents putting out it crazy. Some you may have already covered it already, but obviously give us some kittens, Amar.
Yeah, so Amarkiani, who is a humongous ticket seller, he is a real amazing ticket seller. And he's a super talent as well with trainer Stuart got a brilliant talent. So we come to weigh in the day before, and his opponent Chris Stapps wanted to fight, somebody fairly light, but on the weigh-in he's come and weighed in around about 5 pounds heavier than he was supposed to, and Amar was already coming up in weight to fight him. So Amar's weighed in 11.6, Chris Stapps coming at 12.2. So there's a big weight discrepancy. So in the first round, Amar's hurt Chris Stapps he's definitely hurt him, and he's gone in like some lunatic where his brain disengaged from everything else in his body. And he came in to try and finish the job and got caught by a left hook, a sensational left hook by Chris Stapps, and it put Amar down. And first time he's ever took a count, amateur, sparring or professional in his life. He took the count, got up, he was on shaky legs. And Chris Stapps, where they went again, Amar went down again, it was ruled a slip. He got up, but he just had to see that first round out. But he had amazing heart to get through it because he was all over the place in the first knockdown. He walked straight onto it. So you've got double the force. He's running on and the left hook's coming. So
and the weight advantage as well. Yeah,
the weight advantage as well. But he then managed to get his boxing together, won the last 3 rounds and won 39-38. Really exciting fight. Yeah. But I saw Amar yesterday. He came round to my house yesterday, and I said, "Don't ever do that again." I said, "You need to learn a lesson from that. Don't ever." He said it was the best thing that could ever happen to him because he'll never make that mistake again.
Absolutely, and also I think we've got to mention to Stuart Scott getting with him because if he's not fit, Amar, he doesn't recover from that first, and does recover by just about by the end of the first round. But comes out the second, he's back on his boxing and fresh. So again, if he's not fit, he never recovers from the knockdown thing. So it was exciting, but obviously got the win, turned it round. So Amar now moves on to 3-0. On the undercard as well, Dennis Dinajak, obviously he's in and around the title mix. He was against Mata Sambui. Again, just a standard 4 rounds, comfortable win for Dennis.
Yeah, I mean, he boxed really well again, Dennis. Unfortunately, the super lightweight thing being held up is a problem for him because he was obviously hunting down the titles, and we've got a few lads at super lightweight all hunting down the southern area. Yeah. But obviously, it's all going to be frozen for a bit. So Dennis moves to undefeated in 8 now. Yeah, I mean, he's an exceptional talent with his trainer Dave Sadler. He's a very, very decent fighter, but he's going to have to bide his time now because he doesn't qualify yet for the English until 2022. So he's going to have to bide his time a little bit longer. But no, an exceptional talent is Dennis. Exceptional.
So obviously Billy Stanbury 2-0. Obviously come up from Plymouth. Robbie Chapman. Got the win. We was talking beforehand about obviously there's two Robbie Chapmans. I think it'll be a different one this week to last week.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, Robbie boxed Billy, took a couple, thought, I've got this 6th round with William next week, which is a real big crunch fight for him. He's sort of hanging on his career on his next couple of fights as to where he goes. And I think he just took the view, this is quite hard work. I'll just get through this week and I'll come and fight next week. And I think that's how he adopted it. Billy Stanbury, though, forced him into that decision and done a good job. So, Billy's an exceptional talent, and he's going to be the new Brad Pauls of Plymouth, in my opinion.
Yeah, good enough. I know we're mindful of time, so obviously 2 debutants on the card. So Tyler Marriott against Naheem Ali. Big support, decent performance for Tyler.
Oh, Tyler's great to watch, exciting, talented, and he's a really, really good kid. He works hard. How hard he was working, even doing ticket selling and everything else. And he was a consummate professional. He didn't give us a moment's hassle. And as a kid, I really like him. And we met him. Obviously, we've done a Zoom call, but the first time we met him, I really like him. And I'm looking forward to help him manage him through the titles. But he's a really good kid. Got a good team behind him. And there's a very, very bright future for Tyler Marriott.
And then Southend's Christoph Zaror, obviously against Lee Devine. again, not many people know. Obviously, Christoph had an accident a day before on his bike. Obviously, his thing collapsed. He grazed his shoulder. He had a shoulder injury, but still went through with the fight. And the adrenaline carried him through as he didn't want to go out. But again, solid performance from him. Exciting, noisy crowd.
And you know, he had to box 2 weights above his natural weight again because, because of the lack of opponents, he's had to come up to super lightweight, and he's naturally really a featherweight. So you've got to be realistic. I thought he performed really, really well, especially because he was way outside his weight category. Yeah,
so obviously now moving forward, Steve, looking ahead to this weekend, again, mindful of time, we'll start off with the main event, Adrian Martin versus Lewis Cerreta. You've obviously touched on it a little bit just earlier on.
What a cracking fight for the Southern middleweight title. What a fight.
I can't wait for it. It's a really, really good fight. For many different reasons. I think the styles will mix, and I think it will make a great fight. Also, they're both really, really nice lads in terms of, and they both deserve their shot. So this is, in terms of management and trying to get in people in the right places, they both got their opportunity now, and they both deserve their opportunity. And it's I'm just really looking forward to it. I think it's a really, really good fight.
I mean, Adrian's 11-1, Lewis is 7-1. Lewis's only losses in the Ultimate Boxer 3-round tournament to Sean Robinson. Adrian Martin's only loss was when he messed up the weight against Jamani Camiro and lost against Jamani when Jamani came in as a very late substitute. But he's looked very impressive in 2 fights since. I think it's a real good fight. It could be one of the small hall fights of the year. Yeah. So I would say, if anybody's watching this, you want to get down to York all Saturday, because that, I think, will be a small hall fight of the year.
It's a really, really, really good fight. I'm really excited by it. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. They've got a head-to-head they're doing tonight. I think we touched on it earlier on. So that'll be coming out, obviously, this week as well. So that'll be interesting to watch, hosted by Martin Theobald. Obviously, he's going to chat to them both. On the undercards, obviously, you've mentioned it briefly, but William Webber versus Robbie Chapman. Obviously, Williams needing this fight, 6-rounder. It's a step up in class for him. Robbie's up for this fight as well. He wants to come and really give a good fight. It's a really good sort of team support.
I think it's where both fighters are, because Robbie is not going to be the Robbie of last week. He's coming to win this.
Yeah.
And William Webber, on the other hand, we think he's very talented, and I think it's going to show us exactly where both fighters are in their careers.
Yeah. And you need that as well, Steve, as well, management. You need to gradually increase the levels as you go on, and for William to reach the heights that we think and he thinks he can get to, then he has to go through it, and we'll find out whether it's the right time to press the button or not. It's a really good fight. On the undercard, we've got the debuts of the Frimpong twins, Lewis and Courtney, out of Andy Gill's of old gym. Obviously, Jamie Smith's in that stable as well. Excited.
Andy Gill's got a great little stable there,
Mm-hmm.
The 2 Frimpongs, Jamie Smith and Juliet Horwood, who's coming out making her debut later this year. He's a good trainer, Andy, and he's got a very, very good team of fighters there. I mean, I know he's excited about both Frimpongs coming out. Lewis fights Luke Fash at featherweight, and Courtney fights Lee Devine at super lightweight. And I think I'm looking forward to seeing what they've got, because they're fighting 2 very, very tough journeymen.
Experienced journeymen, yeah, absolutely. But I think the debuts for them. Bailey Donald, obviously.
He's very talented, Bailey, isn't he? Really, really talented. He's a really young man. He's fighting Naheem Ali, who's back after fighting last week against Tyler Marriott. Look, Bailey's really, really talented. He's exceptional. And I'm expecting big things from him throughout his career. And again, he's got all the moves, and I'm looking forward to seeing him. He's entertaining. He entertains me. Fight I'm really interested in, which we haven't. A couple of fights.
There's 2. They got Kane Morgan.
Kane Morgan's making his debut once again. It's something to see. Now he's fighting Josh Cook, who reputation says is one of the best journeymen on the circuit. He's only had 3, but apparently he's one of the most, because you've got to have a skill set beyond belief to be a journeyman. Apparently he's got that. I'm looking forward to see Josh box, because he's such a skilled journeyman. And Kane Morgan, I'm really looking forward to see what he's got, because I know he's worked so hard on the ticket selling, hasn't he? And he's worked really the support base, and I'm really, really looking forward to see his debut.
Yeah. And then the one other one you talk about looking forward to, in the debut, Ross McGuigan versus Phil Williams. Now, Ross is coming up to heavyweight for this. Obviously, he's ideally looking to campaign at cruiserweight, but he's bang up for this. He wants to fight Phil. His coach Miles is very confident, and but I know Phil's looking forward to this as well.
Well, Phil knows that Ross thinks he's coming for him. So Phil said, right, I'm off the leash this weekend. I'm having a proper go. So I know Phil's going to have a real go at this. And Ross, and I know Miles thinks they're going to get rid of Phil inside 4 rounds. So that is actually quite an interesting fight, because Phil's not coming to go through the motions, and neither is Ross. Ross is coming to try and knock him out.
And to be fair to Ross, that's what we spoke to Ross, and that's what Ross wants. Ross was really wants it to, to be tested, and wants Phil to come, and really wants to, even though Phil is a heavyweight. Obviously, Ross isn't a small cruiserweight, but he's a big lad himself. But that's exciting. That could be one to watch.
There's a few fights. This is actually quite a good little card. Only 7 fights, but it's a good little card. And obviously, after this, we come back in October. We're still at the moment working on 7 fights. Maybe the board will increase it. Maybe we'll get some lift up soon. But at the moment, as we know, it's 7 fights for the foreseeable future at your call. So we've just got to work with what we got.
We've got 5 minutes, Steve. So I don't know if you want to touch on that. So obviously, we had our first show last week. People may or may not be aware, we're under certain restrictions currently by the board, especially at York Hall. We're limited by the number of bouts we can have on currently, although that's under review. And also extra restrictions in terms of people have to be weighed in the day before, COVID testing. How did you find that in terms of it being a different problem, a different setup? Obviously the weigh-in was the day before, the COVID test was the day before. How did you find that in terms of obviously the promoter?
Well, in terms of doing it, I thought it was quite good to get fighters weighed in the day before, but it's nonsense. I mean, it's nonsense. To COVID test everybody, they all wander home and go home to their towns, probably go out and have a meal that night, or because they weighed in, or go out, mix with probably 30 or 40 people and come to the venue. The COVID test the day before makes no sense because it's irrelevant now. So I don't get the procedure. It makes no logical sense. But it is what we got to do, and if that's the rules, we got to do it. We don't set the rules; we just follow the rules, because if we don't follow the rules, we can't do the shows. I did like the idea of getting all the ticket monies in the day before, the weigh-ins done the day before, because it made the day less stressful. It was a lot more calm on the day, and it is something I quite liked. I did quite like the day before weigh-in and pay-ins and everything like that.
And in terms of, obviously, people have noticed at that last show that we had no screens there. Again, people may or may not be aware that obviously because of restrictions at York Hall, we can't have the screens there because we have to have extra changing rooms built on the stage now to allow for COVID restrictions. So, but obviously, you took steps to do that. You brought in a new DJ to whip up the event. How did you feel? Was it weird having the screens, or did you not really notice any difference?
No, you really notice it's not having the screens, but DJ. If you don't have the screens and you didn't have the DJ who was playing music all the time, you lost it. So the DJ did help. He really helped. The fans singing and everything like that. So he was really good. He did a great job. But the screens are something we're going to have to live with, because at York Hall we're not going to be able to use them.
No. Yeah, so it's a shame. But all right, well, look, I'm mindful of time, Steve. I know it's a little bit condensed today. I know we've whizzed through it a little bit. But any final closing thoughts for the show at the weekend before we sign off?
Listen, anybody that's sitting around thinking what to do needs to come, because this main event is going to be a war, and I'm telling you, this could be the fight of the year.
There you go. You heard it. The tickets are still available. www.goodwinboxing.co.uk. Click on there, click on the events and tickets, and go through. There will be some tickets available on the door, probably, Steve.
Yeah, there's a few. There's some there. Yes, so there will be tickets on the door. Yeah.
Tickets on the door. Okay, so the show at the weekend, boxing starts at 6:30. Doors open at 5:30. So if you haven't got your tickets, get down to there. Martin Theobald will be back next week with Steve, obviously reviewing the 18th show, and keep an eye out for the Lewis Cerreta head-to-head and Adrian Martin head-to-head with Martin later on.
Cheers, Kev.
Cheers, mate. See you in a bit.
See you in a bit.